Welcome to another episode of Truth Be Told with yours truly, Dr. Bombay. Man, just starting out as I as I was just getting ready to say, y'all, excuse me here, I'm just trying to make some adjustments. I was going to give kudos to the good folks over at StreamYard for correcting that glitch that, we were having some technical difficulties where some upgrade they did that prevented me from interfacing other streaming platforms through their medium. So it looks like they made a correction, but y'all didn't give me the full screen deal here. So now I still have to go and add a background. So I just wanted to, I got happy for a second. I guess they didn't want me to cancel this subscription and they're kind of saving themselves. But hey, look, I'll take what I can get. I can still pipe in my virtual cams and that's cool. I just have to add a background, but I'm going to leave this for right now because I don't want to take up too much time dealing with that and calling this a test run. So, blessings to all who managed to wake up this morning. If you were out last night, this is probably the most dangerous night of the year, New Year's Eve. I have a tendency to stay home as a tradition because I want to stay alive. I know that when I wake up in the morning and I turn on the actual the news events, I'm going to see that several people probably lost their lives, and I would rather not be among them. So starting out, welcome Empress Janet, welcome. Starting out the new year, I know a lot of you put a heavy emphasis on that. I told you, with these resolutions and things, if you're going to do something to make a change, you can go ahead and do it. You can start from point A. Which is the reference, time reference from where you're sitting right now. Also, I just want to add that, every day is a new day, for you to make a change or make an adjustment or do what you got to do. Don't fool yourself because, New Year's resolutions last how long, y'all? Probably about 2 weeks, 14 days, maybe 3 weeks at the most before you're back to the old habits again. So I didn't really make any for my own. Just going to come on here and talk to you. Oh, and also, let's see here. Oh, the good old folks over at this medium also allowed me to be able to add some music from this side of the system, which is cool. So again, welcome anyone that happens to be listening to the sound of my voice. All right, y'all, what we going to do this year, though? Now that we on the subject, the first day we're talking about it, what are we going to do? Well, I've been listening to you. I'm always listening to you. And by the way, this is a sectarian event. So if you are from this sector, I don't know what y'all calling it nowadays, or the beef sector, or the tea sector, conscious sector, black, whatever sector you're from, definitely this applies to you. So we can have this discussion. So getting right to it, I'm listening to you all, and we're having a breakdown in communication. Like, we're not able to hear each other, you know. We're not able to understand that two mutually opposing ideas can exist in the same time and space continuum simultaneously. It can. So you can be right. Both of you can be right. Or you can just agree to disagree, which seems to be the biggest hurdle we can't seem to get over here. So definitely a lot of problems with communication, a lot of emotion with communication. You see the title, and you are all my inspiration. Ye are gods and are children of the Most High. No, this is not a religious sermon. However, as I explained to you many times in the past, truths or facts or useful ideas and things can come from all sources. Now, lately, I've been inspired or getting ideas from these particular sources, and they are relevant and they make sense. See, it's all about what you do with your source. You know, you can take a holy book and you can use it to subdue people and lord over them and rob and pillage, you know, or mislead. Or you can take the same ideas and you can formulate it into something that's positive or uplifting or inspiring. So anyway, that was always a fascinating quote that always stuck with my mind. Because see, when we're born, a lot of times we're indoctrinated into an inferiority complex. You know, some of your well-meaning adults have a tendency to tell you that you're less than, there's this higher power that's above you. This higher power is pissed off at you, even though you just arrived here. You didn't do anything wrong, but because somebody in an imaginary point, place, and time did something, yada, yada, yada. Or maybe you live in a part of the world where there's a class system in place and you're told that you're of a different caste. You know, yeah, they actually have that still. A lot of my, anyway, I don't want to talk about that. So, a lot of class systems. You know, we come into this world, we're given an inferiority complex. Sometimes you're in a society where there's dominant race who are doing that, dominating, okay, oppressing others through the means of racism, systematic racism, and other ways. So, that's been a discussion, the running discussion. You know, a lot of us just can't seem to get it together to figure out who we are. As a matter of fact, I want to lead off by saying also, this woke culture, oh my God, I really can't stand the new woke culture, especially the part where everyone walks around looking for reasons to be offended or to tell everyone else how they should think of that. We really need to get that the hell up out of here. For real. I've even heard somebody refer to me one time. They said something about woke, like my dialogue, what I speak. Let me tell you something. This is not wokeism. I can't stand that word. I said it again. To be perfectly clear, in my culture, in my practice, the word we use would be awake or awakened or awakened one. It has nothing to do with woke. Okay, that's kind of a pseudonym, a spin-off of that, which is supposed to be alluding to the fact there's this new people are somehow coming out of some deep sleep of ignorance, and really it's not coming out of a deep sleep of ignorance. It's like coming out of one and just going to another dream. You ever done that? You've been dreaming and then all of a sudden you get to the next dream, you say, oh man, that was a dream, and you realize you're still asleep. To me, that's what the woke culture is and represents. So now we have minority groups that are going around telling everyone else how offended they are, how you can't say this, you can't say that, that's offensive, that's offensive. I'm gonna tell you right now, you need to get over your effing feelings. I'm not going to live in a world like that where I can't say and think what I want to do. Now, to the good folks, the YouTube gods on high, with respect to them, I understand this is their platform, this is their medium. So they have a right to make rules and tell us what we can and cannot say here. I know a lot of you had problems with that last year, whereas, you just couldn't seem to understand why you were getting your channel taken down or flagged, or people were, picking on you because of your ideas. Some of you even convinced that somehow you were coming from some higher plane of something, and they didn't want your message to get out because the secrets you would reveal would somehow awaken society and whatever. But understand this, YouTube is a corporation, y'all. They're a corporation, and they do have shareholders. Or should I say Google is a corporation. They have shareholders. They have a right to make their product the best that they can be. And sometimes some of the things we do is not good for business. And I'll go further on to say, yes, it is true. And in fact, there are human beings that are involved and employed by that company. And some of those human beings have political ideas, and certain content creators do get discriminated against. They do get filtered. They do get shadow banned and everything else. And there's evidence of this, and I'm talking about larger YouTubers, people with over 1 million subscribers have put out similar videos. And anyway, I don't want to keep you on that because I don't want to take you through a whole year of victimhood. But just understand, this is a corporation, and with any company, there are people who, within those companies, they have ideas or feelings, and sometimes they act upon them. We all have faced discrimination from time to time in our life. Just want to pause there for a quick second, welcoming to the chat, Spicy Kai, my homegirl from Compton, Miss T. Pre, welcome. Nice replay this morning, and I am human first. I heard you yesterday. Very great commentary. So again, the wokeism. A bunch of people running around, and then some subgroups running around telling everyone else, you can't say this, you can't say that. Let me tell you something. And a lot of times these people are in the minority, in some cases less than 1%. You do not get to dictate what the entire society does. You do not get to come into my place of worship and tell me what's in my holy book is not conducive to what you believe or whatever. Get the hell out of here with that. Bottom line. In America, there is something called freedom. As limited as it is, the idea of it is real. All right, yo, so check this out. Man, there's a lot of discussion over who you are and what you are. We can't seem to agree on certain things. We can't seem to agree. Matter of fact, when I say we, y'all, I'm narrowing this down to what we're going to refer to as black people in this country. And I don't want to make this about a black discussion. I'm really not a big fan of the racial thing. Not anymore. Not this year, y'all. It's so much more we can talk about. And that's what this is kind of leading off, setting the tone for this year today. Now, when you woke up this morning and you looked in the mirror, what did you see? And what was the first name that came to mind? What was the first label that you put on yourself when you looked? Or what do you consider yourself? Now, yeah, we all know the history. We've been through a lot. We know about the slave trade. We know about all the things, the suffering, the oppression, and which continues on to this day. But again, I'm not here to focus on that. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go back, right? Because that's the thing, y'all. We can't seem to get it together to figure out who's in the club and who's not in the club. That's what I'm gonna call it, the club, right? Racial club, black club, whatever. Now, excuse me. Where did you come from? Your mother and father. Where did they came from? Their parents. Where did they came from? Their parents. Where did they come from? Their parents. Where did they come from? Their parents. Where did they come from? Their parents. We're going all the way back. We're going back far enough. Now, the origins take us over to another continent. Oh, so the majority of you in the club trace your roots back to Africa, is it? Some of you have blood from other races, which traces back to Europe. So now I got you on 2 different continents, and we're going back further. Um, we go back. Now we're in Africa. Now we're in a certain country. Now we're in a certain region. Now we're in a certain tribe. We're going back. Another generation, keep going back, keep going back, keep going back. Now you're this nomadic hunter-gatherers moving about the continent. And we go back, and we go back, and we go back. Now you're primates standing upright. We go back, we go back, we go back, we go back, all the way back. So, what was the whole point of that exercise, going all the way back? The whole point of that exercise was just to prove a point. When we talk about what we are, some people will say, well, by right, you're an American because you've been here for generations, so you lay a claim to the land. Some people like to attach themselves to the continent because it gives them a certain sense of pride or identity. But it's funny, it all depends on how you look at it. Like some people, a scientist would look at it and take you all the way back to Australopithecus or Cro-Magnon, somewhere way back there, to say what you are. My personal feeling, I think we're focusing too much on this body, this self, this identity, this projection. And that's what's causing us to argue, And I wanted to say it's all a matter of perspective. Welcome, Marcy P. and YM. It's all a matter of perspective, y'all. Now, see, well, you know what? I'll talk about myself later when we get to some more going into what we call the ultimate reality of things. So that's us. We're sitting here. We're human beings. We have different political ideologies, different religions, different races, or what appears to be races, different colors, hues, culture. And we like to argue over what are we? What's the real reality and what's not? I always like to believe to myself, how important is it? How important is it to argue over this? Well, I don't know. I guess it's a sporting event or something. I don't know. It's stimulating for the brain. But again, y'all, it's really a matter of perspective, which takes us into the perspective. You believe that your perspective is somehow superior to mine. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. So you attach yourself to a race, group, or heritage, and now calling it I, or I am this because I am attached to this thing, this idea, this concept. But what are you really? Why is there so much confusion between human beings identifying who they are? And if you did, like, let's say, for instance, right, let's just go out on a limb here. If we did have the answer to the, truthfully what we were, what would you do then? What would you do if you all could agree on, hey, we're going to be this. This is the club. This is how we're going to label it. What would you do? Perhaps from there, you're now going to create a set of laws, morals, and standards, and then force everyone else to adhere to them. See, that's what causes the argument in the first place. The fact that you believe that we should all be one thing, or you believe that you have the answer, and somehow you want to force this on everybody else. Welcome, D. Darrell. You want to force this on everybody else. All right, so this is what I'm here for, the prescription. We're going to have to transcend the ideas of labeling, placing ourselves in the groups, forcing other people to see things our way, and just figure out some other way to just get along or build or just coexist. See, these ideas of what we are and all of this self, the self creates the illusion of separation. See, I'm sitting here speaking into the microphone. You're sitting there listening to the sound of my voice. Somehow, for conventional reasons, we appear to be separate. And some would even say that is a fact. You're sitting in Connecticut and I'm sitting down here south of you. So yes, I'll give you that. Our problem is, as human beings, we don't know much else beyond that. So we tend to focus on the self more than anything else. We're focusing on our differences more than anything else. We're focusing on our perceptions more than anything else. And then that's what creates the arguments. And sometimes arguments lead into wars, actually, because you're not satisfied to allow somebody to be who they are, see things the way they want to see it, and have at it. It's not enough for you. You got to beat the hell out of the person until they see it your way. What if you all are wrong? Why do we limit ourselves to the self? And I'm going to go a step further, forgive my arrogance, the false self. Now, I gave an example earlier talking about if you think you're, whatever you think you are today, when you go back tracing these biological entities all the way back down the chain of your ancestry, you find yourself ending up in another continent, in another time and space, and in some cases, a whole different species. But then what are you really? And is it worth you holding on to this position to argue over it, fight? Some people would say, the debate, the intellectual debate is a healthy thing. And yes, it helps to stimulate brain cells. And I will admit, people come here all the time when I do these lectures, these Dharma talks, and they always give me new insights, new ways to see things. The problem is this: if we're having an intellectual debate and it gets to the point where we are becoming angry and we now have to hurt the other person, that's a problem, y'all. So that's where it becomes unhealthy. All right. So again, what I want you to do this year, I want you to open your mind and just consider other possibilities. And I want you to think one thing. I want you to think that, or just hold in your mind, just for consideration, what if I am wrong? What if my viewpoints are wrong? What if they're not wrong? What if it's just that you're not seeing the whole picture? And that's what if you're listening, that's what I'm alluding to. Because we're so focused on the individual. We're focused on, the separativeness. And I'm telling you, there's more. All right? So, man, I remember a discussion. We were talking about karma. And that right there, again, led to an all-out breakdown of communication in a war. We were discussing karma. I've gone over this many times. There's a video on my channel that talks about karma. The dictionary definition, karma is a force generated by a person's actions, held in Hinduism and Buddhism to perpetuate transmigration and its ethical consequences to determine the nature of the person's next existence. I'm going to tell you something. When I close the door with my spiritual counterparts, we debate over this because we talk about karma. And I asked the question, I said, well, if I'm a murderous thug in this lifetime and you're telling me my karma in the next lifetime, I'll get dealt a bad hand because I didn't purify or the karma in this lifetime. And I asked one question. I said, who's keeping the record of what I'm doing in this lifetime? And then they're determined. And then what is it, if there is no self, what is it that carries the karma from one lifetime into the next? I asked a nun. She told me it's the mental continuum. I got that. So you got to understand that even in spiritual circles, we start creating this ethic of right and wrong. And then we start talking about, well, if you do wrong, you're going to get more wrong in a lifetime, and you have to burn that out to achieve this higher enlightenment. I personally don't believe that. I don't accept it or see it that way, but I'm not here to talk about that. I want to tell you something. And the argument came up because we were determining how is it that Black folks got such a raw deal. And the argument started because we were talking about, slavery and some things that happened in the past. People like to talk about that all the time. Matter of fact, there's one religious group, I can't remember if it was the Mormons or Jehovah's Witness, that talked about there was a war, that thing in Revelations 12:7, there was a war in heaven, and the devil and his angels fought, and Michael and his angels, and they were found out of place, whatever. I'm not no biblical scholar, but we were told by, I can't remember, y'all, please, you can answer that, let me know. I can't remember which religious group said, well, the angels that refused to get into the fight and stay neutral were turned into Black people, and that's where Black people get their dark skin and cursed with large lips. Which, again, sounds like more of that karmic debt. So that was their explanation for why Black people exist. Some people tend to believe, it's because of things that were done in the past, and that's why we are here now, or we went through the trials and tribulations of the slavery movement. I'm here to tell you this: karma doesn't quite work like that. And the reason why I say this, if you believe, for instance, if a group of people in the 1400s were engaging in some activity, right? And you're saying that 400 years later, in the 1800s, they ended up in a foreign land and they were suffering the afflictions of slavery because of something their ancestors did. Then I would ask this: well, what part of the people, the group from the 1400s, is still here in the 1800s to cause them people to suffer? I.e., some of you believe that human beings have souls and souls travel. So my question is, what is it that dictated that the souls would keep reincarnating back into the next generation so that they could end up to reap the suffering of what their ancestors did? See, again, if you look at it from a limited perspective of the Africans in Africa are related to the African Americans in America, and because of past transgressions, this group is suffering here, then I would ask you, then what became of the spiritual part of the ancestors and the souls? Where did they go? Are they somewhere else? Did they get stuck in this cosmic loop that caused the souls to reincarnate so that they could reap the suffering of what the ancestors did? See, that right there is why I say, before we start arguing about these things, we need to start breaking down and understanding these advanced concepts. Now, I will give you this, because we have conventional minds. We're in the third dimension. That's where we're stuck, and we have a tendency to see things this way. Yes, it is true on some level that if a group of people did something very negative, let's say they were waging war on another group and they kept doing it and doing it and doing it, then eventually they got conquered and enslaved. Then that would just be one action having an opposite reaction. It has nothing to do with something in the cosmos is predetermined, that dictates by some strange force because a lady did something in 1592 that a lady is now suffering in 1873. At least not physically. So, again, is it really worth having the argument over these things when we can't grasp basic concepts, let alone to try to understand cosmological mathematics behind karma? It is a very complex operation. And I even went on to say, as we had the discussion, that we're looking at the bodies of people. We're saying a human being does something, so a human being in the next lifetime or somewhere down the road is suffering. If you look closer at the human being, what are you really made of? You're a god. What are you made of? You're a multifaceted, multi-complex being. See, we're looking at the human being as a whole. We're not looking at ourselves spiritually. We're not looking at ourselves on a subatomic level. Let me tell you something. You think because you're a man or you're a woman and you walk out your house and you kick a dog, which that's a terrible thing to do. I don't even like that example. You kick a dog and then all of a sudden you have a car crash and you say, because I'm a human being, I kicked the dog. That's why it resulted in something bad happening to me. Again, who's keeping the record and who's up there pulling the strings that tells you something bad's going to happen to you? Don't let me distract you with that. Back to the subatomic. I'm here to tell you something. Every molecule, every atom, every quark, every biaperture, every potential wave of material existence within your body has its own karma. It's not just you, the perceiver. Every particle, every idea of the being of what you are spiritually, I don't like to use the word soul. I don't believe in that. Has its own karma. Everything does. It's just that we're so hooked on this container that we're in. We're so hooked on the human form that this is all that you identify with. And you think the whole body has karma. It goes beyond that. It really does. I said before, in the past, I said if you had a camera large enough to take a snapshot of the universe, where you could literally see at one time, you could see every particle of existence, its current position and velocity, you would be able to see infinitely into the past and into the future. And then you would know the karma of everything at all times, in all places. But here we are, mere mortals, human beings, on a microphone yelling and screaming at each other because we can't seem to agree on what caused slavery. Now, I broke it down. I'm going to tell you flat out. And the answer is as simple and plain as the nose on your face. Slavery existed. And it wasn't nothing personal. It existed because of profit. Some people figured out there was a way to take another group of people and to use them in a way to make massive amounts of profit, which is what led to America becoming a superpower in the first place. So it's all economic and corporate greed that caused that. It had nothing to do with what one of your ancestors did in the 14th century. It's not how it works. And I would go on to say further that had mankind evolved in a different way, where maybe they had a more positive spirit, whereas though maybe they weren't so greedy and hell-bent on domination, then this planet wouldn't look in the way that it does. There's enough resources here to sustain all of us infinitely if we shared everything equally. That's not the case, is it? 1% of the population owns 90% of the wealth and resources. There's an imbalance on this planet. That's why slavery exists. That's why the poor class is the largest class. That's why there are oppressed societies. So don't overthink it. And if you're going to think about it, look at it on all levels. Yes, see it on the physical level from your perspective of self. See it subatomically. See it from an energy level standpoint. Look at it in all dimensions. That's what I'm here to talk about. The gods. Yep, the gods. You. Why did that quote come about in the first place? Any of you Bible people understand what's that about? I believe there was a character in the Bible. Y'all call him Jesus, and people was talking to him and asked him, who do you think you are? Running around here calling yourself the Son of God. And then he dropped the quote from Psalms 82:6 that said, "Is it not written in your laws that ye are gods and children of the Most High?" So he took their own scripture and threw it back at them. See, y'all, and notice in that exchange, the man called Jesus didn't get loud. He didn't yell. He didn't go, aha. He didn't go on YouTube and go live and go na boo boo pointing at the Pharisees. He just simply took the knowledge, handed it back to him and said, "Hey, right here, boom. Hey, let that be an example." Now, you ain't got to believe nothing in that book is real. I'm not telling you to believe. I'm not here to sell you on no religion. But what I'm telling you is this, as I said in the beginning, no matter what the source is, no matter what book or text or tablet is written down, there's always something useful in everything. You got to open your mind to just saying, yo, you know what? I don't have to believe this, but let me see. Remember what I said? There is no right and wrong. Those are moral perspectives. It's only what works and what does not work. Now, a lot of us, a lot of you think in a godlike way. You want to be lofty. You want that title. You want to be bigger than, better than. Some of you have had your heritage and culture robbed from you. If we're here in this country, definitely. And you want your place. You want to be, at the core, you want to be respected. You want to be given a chance at success like everybody else. And I respect that and I understand that. Sometimes we overcompensate, though. Now, some of us want these bigger titles. Hell, there's whole groups of us walking around, especially in New York, referring to ourselves as gods. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. if you want to be God, it's what you are anyway. But what we need to do, we need to understand what that entails. Now, the problem is that Matthew, let me slow down a bit. All right. God itself, that's such a lofty title that we take on. But is it really, or is it just a matter of relative perspective? Now, I don't want this title to be confused with a supreme, all-powerful deity, because it's not that. That word has been drilled and beaten into you by way of religion. So the minute we hear it, we automatically associate it with the one who controls all things, when it's really just a matter of perspective. And I say that because I don't really like dropping that word down, because again, since I came out the womb, every time I heard it, I was told it was somebody up high in another place that was pissed off at me because of something somebody else did. So I have a certain kind of feeling when I hear that word. But now, later on in life, I understand what that man in that book, when he said that, I understand more so what he meant. Now, God, or being a God, is, like I say, it's a matter of perspective. Now, we call this being in the book, we refer to as God because, we said, well, if this person we're being taught about has the control, the fate, and destiny of everything, then that person would be considered a God because they're more advanced than us. And I thought about that. I said, man, you know what? There are cultures on this planet that were influenced by other beings that had greater technology than them, and often referred to them as gods. I always like to use the example of, you got that 7-year-old little Billy. He's got a water hose in his hand, and he got the nozzle. And there's this anthill. And Billy looks at that anthill, and a lot of us as kids, we were some evil little sons of bees, and we've done some bad things. And Billy takes that water hose, he squeezes that handle, and he obliterates that anthill and floods the entire colony. Now, I'm pretty sure in that ant colony, one of those ants were probably a scholar or a writer, and he wrote down on the day that all the ants had been doing so bad and transgressing against the ant colony's laws that the almighty, all-powerful God came down and cleansed the world, reproving it of sin by washing it away with a great flood that lasted from the ant perspective, lasted for 40 days. But from Billy's perspective, the water kind of ran off in about 30 minutes. So, from the ant's perspective, Billy appears to be an almighty, all-powerful God. That's why I say you can take the word, you just got to separate it from this whole deity thing. Just understand it's where you are on a scale. Hell, 150 years ago, we had less technology. If you take what we have now, the technology, and show it to somebody from the 17th century, it would almost look like magic, or what we would call God-like. Anyway, y'all, what I'm saying is, we just have to kind of start being more humble and figuring out what we are, or not making it so important that we have to argue and fight about it. I was going to go into more of that whole what creation really is. I don't want to do that because, again, I'm not here to put my ideas off onto you, as I say in every live presentation. I'm just here to tell you that you just need to look inside of yourself. Every answer to every question is right there. And I'm telling you, while you're on your journey, don't get distracted by a war or a beef. You know what I'm saying? Letting that take you all out of the path and things. Again, we were talking earlier about the self, and I asked this, and I always ask people, I always say this as an exercise: point to yourself. Right now, just take a finger, if you got to look in the mirror, point to yourself. Now, in this particular instance, the majority of people will point to their head. When I say point to yourself, they associate self with the brain and where their thoughts originate from. The very few more highly advanced people will probably point to their heart, because they recognize that who they believe themselves to be is more associated with their emotional body. And that's okay, right? But I always say this, when I talk about myself and I use the pronouns in the first person singular, I always try to figure out what is this concept of self? What is this thing that has this set of life experiences that has been ingrained in me so long by way of my memory that it makes me get to the point where I even fight for it. And I walk around and I say certain things have to be considered real by my perspective, and I'm willing to argue the point. Which takes me to truth. This is where the disagreements begin and end. Truth. We argue and we say things back and forth to each other, and we say, I'm speaking facts. And that means what you're saying is non-factual, and that makes you wrong, and you just don't want to hear it because you don't like me, or what have you. I listen to the dialogue where one individual states what they put forth as fact, and the opposition calls it opinion. I see you all do that all the time. You'll say, well, that's your opinion. And the other person say, no, it's a fact. So my question is, which one of you is right? What is truth really? Well, truth is broken down into two categories, objective and subjective. Objectivity for factual matters, there exist widely recognized criteria and methods to determine whether a claim is true or false. An objective statement is factual. It has a definite correspondence to reality, independent of anyone's feelings or biases. As Ben Shapiro always says, when you say, I feel, he says, the facts say F your feelings, pretty much, no matter what you feel. So if a person says, I have 3,000 subscribers, he or she is making an objective statement. If they actually have 3,000 subs, then the statement is true. So it's objective. You can't argue against it. It is factual. A lot of you are blurring the lines between the objective and the subjective, and you're using your emotion. I feel strongly about this, so it's true. Or you'll quote some PhD or doctor's paper that he wrote and say, well, he has a higher authority because he went to college longer than you, so therefore his truth is objective. But is it really? Think about it. During the COVID time, there was a lot of medical doctors arguing back and forth about what was right, what was wrong. A lot of you used their data to, not even data, you used their opinions to determine what was right because it gave you more authority. Truth of the matter is that virus was so new, there was no data. How could they possibly argue over what it is? We're learning more about that virus these days as days go along. Some people are having illnesses. Some people are falling, where they're they're becoming unalived is the word. I guess it's a safe word for woke YouTube. I can say I can't say certain words on here. So which of the statements are true between the two people? If a person does not have the actual proof, then the statement is false. The truth or falsehood of the claim does not depend on a subjective opinion. That's where you are. I know y'all was wondering, where the hell is he going over? He's talking about God, karma, all this crazy nonsense. Where the hell am I going with this? Yes, I was getting to the point. Y'all know me. I got to go around the barn. Okay? Way around the barn. You knew what you were signing up for when you came in here. So again, you all are arguing back and forth, and you're taking subjective points of views and you're trying to make it objective and trying to make it convincing. I think if you slow things down, take it down a couple of notches and get your emotions out of it, you probably could hear each other and you probably could come to some nice conclusions. You can observe me here. Shameless plug. People disagree with me all the time. And I say, wow, let me consider what you're saying. And when I say emotions, meaning if you're going to engage in conversations with people you don't like, you're really going to have, I would suggest using 80% of your concentration to keep your emotions at bay. Like, seriously focus on whatever when your mind pops up with a feeling, acknowledge that you're thinking the feeling and tell the mind, I can't use that right now. I can't use anger right now. I need to go ahead and quiet. I need you to step out. I need to have a conversation and use my brain right now. Straight up. So, in recent years, as I talked about earlier with the whole woke culture, there's been an attack upon the very concept of objective truth. Things Things that we once accepted to be objective has been labeled subjective. I call that more of the dumbing down of America, which came into full swing during the Trump administration, mostly fueled by corporate-controlled media. When that man came on, and by the way, told more lies than any one individual in the history of Americans, those who wanted to rise back to power in this country, who felt they were slipping away out of, I'm looking for that thing they had, that fear. It's some kind of fear concept where they feel like their race is being eradicated. They felt like that this man would be a savior, and so what was generally absurdities became accepted as facts, and the objective became the subjective. Everything got switched around. So now you can say or do anything, and people go, that's true. That's true because of the source it came from. I personally was online arguing with longtime friends of mine, because they wanted to support a certain political idea or agenda so bad that they would take anything that's fantasy and make it real. And they would argue me down about it. They use a lot of whataboutisms and straw man arguments to kind of knock me off my point. After a while, I digressed. I just pretty much accepted, like, hey, look, man, if you're going to believe what you're going to believe, then I'm not here to convince you of that. I lost some friends because of that during the administration. It's not worth it. It's really not. I looked at them. I took their little political slogan, "Make America Great Again." I said, well, at what period of time was it great? I said, you know what? Let's all sit down and talk about it. When was it a really good time? Some people said 1955. I said, wow, good pick. 1955, a single man could go to work, support a family of 3 on his salary. Wife could be a housewife if she chose to, and they could have a car, and they would go on vacation. Mind you, the vacation wasn't Disneyland per se, but generally a road trip where the whole family would go out, cabin type stuff, picnics, things, go on the road. But he could do it. After 20 years, his company gave him a pension and a gold watch. Now you're 40. You literally can start another career at this point. And then you would get something called Social Security in the end. I said, wow. And there were unions that had employee rights, and everybody, well, a lot of people were happy. Not everybody, y'all. But we're not here for that. So I said, fellas, are you telling me that your candidate is going to come in and he's going to make it like that again? Can he do that? Because if he can do that, I'll vote. But you got to tell me how you can do it. How can we get it back to that? And I said, dude, I'm going to tell you right now, as long as the corporations are running things and they run your candidates as well, it ain't never going to be like that. It's until you change the system, until you do something to bring about systemic change on a global scale. And let me tell you, that will not happen as long as you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, TikTok, whatever you're on, arguing back and forth about these mundane topics, about trying to figure out who you are. How the hell are you going to get anything done? There's no time. Do you understand? Most of us have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet. And you on here arguing about what difference do it make? Both of you can't afford an apartment on your salary by yourself. But you want to argue about this, and it's not healthy intellectual debate. It's nonsense. Yeah, I'm going to say that. This year, it's not always Mr. Nice Guy, the happy medium. So again, your truth is your truth. Matter of fact, we was talking about objective. Now, that got turned upside down. Okay, for instance, the statement people would say it sometimes, they say, God exists. Now, in the past, that was recognized as an objective statement because whether you agreed or disagreed, everyone considered it an objective statement regarding external reality. Most people agreed with the statement, but even atheists who disagreed treated it objectively. Now, the reason why is because at that point in time, you are an American. You definitely believe in that particular being. That was like law. Now, none of us could prove it. And we would say things like, well, how did you think we got here? Well, that doesn't mean anything. I could say aliens. I could say that movie, what was that? Prometheus. That's how we got here. I mean, but the thing is, that's my whole point, y'all. Even that sometimes with is objective is usually fueled by the belief of the majority who can control what is objectively accepted. Now, at the core of things, there are things that are objective and things that are factual. We need to learn how to recognize what is and what not, and we need to detach ourselves from the importance of proving it and forcing it down people's throats. So again, the whole God concept, I mean, most of you, a lot of people, but those numbers are declining these days. The next generation, they're not just accepting that, which actually will free them. They will be in a better position to bring about this global change I was talking about. Meanwhile, you middle-aged folks, you want to keep arguing and fussing and going back and forth. You don't want to consider other things. Which basically just keeps you running in a circle on a hamster wheel. You're not getting anywhere. Now, the subjective, the other side, the objective claim, on the other hand, is not a factual matter. It's an expression of belief, opinion, or personal reference. That's where the confusion comes in. We have a tendency to take that subjective and try to push it off as fact. If the truth is based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste, or opinions, then it is subjective again. Just because you yell the word facts after every statement that you utter does not make it true. I hear y'all. Facts. No, that don't make it no more real. It don't matter. And you can yell it louder, still doesn't make it true. However, it has been proven since the beginning of time that personal feelings, tastes, and opinions change from day to day. So therefore, the subjective can be this way one week and be something else the next week. So truth can't be subjective. And the same can be said for morality. You ever noticed that? How the subjective changes from day to day, from week to week, and so does morality. Like, if you think about it, look at your music. Most of that stuff that you say that is said in music right now that's on the radio, you couldn't have said 25 years ago. Hell, there was a time when, women couldn't wear pants. They thought that was immoral. Again, I don't know, y'all. I think that we need to stop arguing and bickering over this silliness. If you're a woman and you want to wear pants, wear pants. If you're a woman and you don't believe women should wear pants, then don't. Wear your skirts. I grew up in a neighborhood where at least two of the ladies, the girls, were raised wearing dresses the whole time. They never told anybody else, the other girls, you're sluttish because you have on pants. I mean, live and let live, people. It's not worth your brain cells. It ain't worth the calories you burn, to keep going back and forth. Do like this. Just make a video, say what you gotta say, and get the hell on. I guess it's these live presentations where things come in and things go to the left, because now you have an open panel and now it's a chance for things not to work out so good. Shout out, special thanks to the 7 that are rocking with me this morning. We finally got the airways cleared a little bit to be able for me to come here and say something. I appreciate you taking the time out to listen. Even if you're in the background whipping up that cake batter, I'm thankful that you're here. And we'll go to the comments in a minute. Now, in some spiritual circles, like my own, we simplify our existence by dividing it into what's called the 4 noble truths. They are as follows: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of the path that leads to the end of suffering. That's it, zipped up in a nutshell. More simply put, suffering exists, it has a cause, it has an end, and it has a cause to bring about its end. Okay? You hear people talk about, like, for instance, Buddhism. They'll say, oh, Buddha this, Buddha said that, Buddha said this. Nah, Buddha taught one thing. Buddha taught that suffering is, and the end of suffering, and the path how to get there, the 4 noble truths. That was it. See, when y'all argue back and forth and y'all fight, you're increasing your suffering. My job here, the whole doctor moniker is, what's the prescription for that? The prescription is, let's find the path to end the suffering, to bring it down a bit. Okay? That's my role here. If I'm in one of your sectors, that's what I'm here for. Okay? I was told this was my assignment. Somebody said, when I do other things, I'm not allowed to do that. I got to keep speaking this way. And I'm going to try to be better at it this year, y'all, and tomorrow and the day after that. So another thing that's holding us back is we're caught up in superstition. Now, I understand, y'all, 1,000 years ago, you saw some lightning in the sky, you thought it was some angry God rolling thunder. See, that's a primitive way of seeing things. It's time for us as a people to leave these superstitions and beliefs alone. See, belief is just that, accepting of things without facts or proof. And so are beliefs and superstitions. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. We need to take that aside and move into a knowing. And by knowing, that's something that you've taken in or accumulated from direct experience, direct contact with the idea of it. Instead of saying, well, I believe, and then trying to force those beliefs upon other people as facts. Now, if you want to talk about your beliefs, I'm with that. And if I want to hear it, I'm going to tune in and listen. Because me personally, I'm going to draw some goodness out of what you're putting down, no matter what. See, but when it comes to beliefs and putting things forth to people, you can only speak on that which you've experienced directly. And again, no matter how many times you repeat that statement or how loud you yell it into your microphone on that live panel, that will not make the experience more real for the listener. See, even what I'm saying here, you can dismiss every bit of it. Or what you can do, instead of dissecting what I'm saying or breaking it down, you can teach me, then where did I go wrong? What is the reality? Give me the ultimate reality of all things. I will gladly listen, because that's what the build is about. Now, again, just because you repeat it, because you yell it loud, because you say it, make it rhyme, like Nipsey Russell, yeah, the old comedian, y'all, not the rapper Nipsey Hussle. It's just because you think you can rhyme and make it more dress it up a bit with some glitter, doesn't make it true. Like I said, as an example, if you believe that you can do that, then describe the color blue to a woman blind since birth who has never seen light. Describe the color blue to a blind woman. You can talk all day. You can repeat it over and over. You can yell it louder, but to no avail. That woman will not have any more experience of the color blue than she had 10 minutes ago before you started. And ask yourself a question. How important is it? Right? So, I give you this because I hope that as we move forward that you all can communicate on a higher level, that you can get some things done, with each other. That's my hope, y'all. Again, I keep reminding you, ye are gods and children of the Most High. You are infinite beings with infinite potential. There is nothing that you cannot do. Well, right now, it does appear there's something you can't do, and that is transcend the notion of the importance of yourself and the ego so much that you stay in conflict. You can't find the peace for 5 minutes. You got to have an inverse. Your ideologies are great. The way you see things are great, but you can't force that on other people. You can't tell me that because your definition of something is this, especially blackness, that I have to perform, act, do, speak this. No, I don't have to do any of that. What you fail to miss, if y'all want to make it racial, is that when I walk out of my front door, I am at the same level of risk as losing my life at a traffic stop as you are. But what the hell are we sitting here arguing about? Now, if you want to get down with me and figure out how we can fix it, how we can do something to make it so I'm not at risk, and don't talk to me about, just move to PG County. That's the highest concentrated of wealthy blacks in the country. Okay, that's fine and good. But those highest concentration of wealthy blacks in PG County, Maryland, don't control anything. It's just a bunch of people living in proximity with a lot of money. Again, if you have a way, if you have something how we can work together or build, I'm with that. Now, Me personally, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. It ain't about the race, y'all. It's not. It's about humans. Period. Cause see, if I do fix my neighborhood, make it all hunky dory, make it a virtual paradise, but then I can't get along with my neighbors, or my neighbors over here, they want to set off some explosive device that can poison the whole damn atmosphere because they pissed off. See, I can't just heal. You gotta heal. The global healing has to take place. But you can't even approach that. You can't even heal within yourselves to even approach that. You stuck on arguing over this silliness. You understand? On a round planet, there is no choosing up sides. Period. So again, y'all, let us elevate, you know what I'm saying, and try to get to, these higher understandings and these greater realizations of things. Ain't nothing wrong with a healthy debate if y'all want to get it on. But I say, are you mature enough to have your healthy debate without it becoming emotional, without it becoming hate-filled? Bottom line, because otherwise, just you spinning your wheels. This don't make no point here. You know what I'm saying? You got to respond, answer what I'm saying. Some of you might, I've seen it in the past. I say these things, you get offended. I'm not even talking. It's not even personally against you. But because you want to stay the way that you are, you'll argue down everything I'm saying rather than just saying, you know what, he's right. Maybe there is a consideration. But see, even if you respond, I'm going to listen to what you're saying, and I'm going to give it the most consideration I possibly can. So, what are you going to do with the entire year? Are you going to keep the argument going by running around, repeating your point of view while violently trying to convince others how they should see the world? Or are you going to open yourself up to some new dialogue and new ways of being? I dropped the link for anybody that has anything you might possibly want to say about anything that's on your mind. This is a sectarian event, and I'm going to take this time to run through the comments, the few that are here. And I thank you. Spicy Kai, the homegirl, Nutty Block, says, I know you're not from that. I know you're not. Yes, I recognized a little of that myself last year. Wokeness out of control. I am human first as truth. YM stops by, of course. And the homegirl Marcy T says, much love, Dr. Marcy. Aha. Much love, Spicy Kai. See, they the homegirls from on the other side of the world. I'm in. D. Darrell, Life Solutions, Coach D, stop through. Oh my God, this is literally part of my new journey in life. You've been reading my damn mind. See, that's what it's all about. And by the way, y'all, that's that. Okay, I'm going to tell you something. All knowledge and all truth you can tap into. Every thought, every idea, every concept that you ever had in your life is stored somewhere. The universal consciousness is aware of it. I'm not going to put a label on it. I just call it source. Remember when I gave that example, talking about go back with your origins, and I said kept going back every generation, go back another generation. Hell, if you kept going all the way back to the beginning, you'll go back to the formation of this planet, the formation of the solar system, the formation of this sector of this galaxy, the formation of this galaxy, this quadrant. If you keep going all the way back, you'll eventually arrive at source. I wanted to talk about that, but I don't want to stay on source. Some of you call it the universe now, which is still limiting because universe means one verse. There's many. So I don't want to talk about that. That is the path you're walking, you'll find on your own. But what I'm saying is, when a sister says I'm reading her mind, actually she's plugged into the same source I'm plugged into. I'm accessing the information from the same library that she's getting it from. Basically, she's uploading, I'm downloading. It's not a real hard thing to understand. There's nothing that is not aware of everything else. And you all are a part of that something. For ye are God and children of the Most High. We just have to wake up. But I told you before, the whole point of your existence is that you're born in darkness and ignorance so that you can walk your way back to wake up. That's the whole point. See, if you were born self-aware and you knew and you were still plugged into source and you had that resource at your disposal, then what would be your life experience? You already know everything. You know what's going to happen. You're aware of the whole karmic process on a galactical scale. What would be the point of it all? And that's the point of it all for us to actually come up with these ideas and these resolutions and have these conversations and transcend things like race, language, culture. As a society, if you look, human beings are at the crossroads. It's like we're we're teetering. Like the planet is on one side looking like it's about to self-destruct through some sort of nuclear holocaust or a global economic collapse because there's so many people now that are of the lower class. See, it was fine when it was just 30% of you. Now that it's 70% of you, it's like you got almost a small revolution on your hands. You know, you look around last year, there was several strikes at companies that were being very unfair and hoarding all the profits. So yes, y'all, you know, let's start looking past these shells, man. Let's start looking past the ego and the mind and start really being like tapping into your full potential, tapping into the God part of yourself. You are that. There's no doubt about it. Each and every one of you have the seed of enlightenment placed within you, you know, because you're all still a part of Source. You never left. But again, for the purpose of being in three-dimensional space-time, the continuum, you are a separate self. You are someone sitting somewhere else listening to me and all this and all that, you know? But again, we can have conversations about that, but you got to understand at the end of the day, if we have a conversation about these types of ideas, we have to understand that it's just conversation unless one of us has actually experienced it. In spiritual circles, we call that satori. When you touch, you have a flash of enlightenment. I've done that twice in my life. I think I was 8 years old at one point and 11 at another point. I haven't had that since. It's almost like you can't use words to explain it. But all I know is if I can somehow hone that and grasp it and keep it continuously, then you would literally end suffering virtually. Okay, moving on. If we don't do it, whatever it is, no one, we are the one. Okay, a lot of these things happened during while I was speaking, bro. And then Miss T. Priest said JWs teach that. Okay, so it was the witnesses. Okay. And it's funny how, like, you know, colored Americans weren't allowed in the organization, but then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we know what we said, but now we need membership. Right on, Doc. Marcy says, people really think like that. Some of these I have to catch on the replay, y'all. Amen. Amen. 82 Psalms, no doubt about it. And again, it's funny. Matter of fact, let's leave that. It's funny how some of us woke people who are anti-religion, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm telling you is this: the reason why that particular scripture resonates with a lot of you is not because it has to be the truth. It's because it comes from somewhere else. Some of you are scholars and historians and have traced its origins. And you'll find that if you go back, you'll see it attached to certain other ancient cultures. And the reason why it resonates with you, because there's something in your very DNA that says, there's something about this that is close. I just can't put my finger on it. And if you are a Black American, you will rebuke the ideas of that particular book because the other people used it to basically beat you senseless and subjugate you and force you into submission. So you are automatically are going to say, nah, I don't want to hear that. And that's cool. That is your right. And I would never tell you should be doing anything else. But I will say this, damn it, if it's there's truths and bumper stickers. Half of those memes that y'all circulate on Instagram, there's a lot of truths in those. But some people say those are silly memes. Those are bumper stickers. Why would you adhere to it? Because it makes sense. See, in the 70s, y'all, the last era of good music, artists used to make a lot of songs that had deep hidden meanings within them that, man, it would resonate within the masses and cause them to sell a lot of records and become very successful. Musicians are always on a higher level. They're tapped into source. You better believe it. There's no musical work I ever put together or produced that came from me. It came through me. That's right, y'all. It's an infinite library. This reiterates in John 10 as well. Okay. I'm not that good at Bible stuff, but hey, I have to check that out later. Bible, Bible is not religious. People are, and in my opinion, it's a demon. I would love to have Marcy come up here and talk about that. Religion is a demon. Jesus rebuked the religious. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. God. Yeah, I like the character. I like the character in that story for what he represented. Elohim, not the great I am Elohim. Understand? I always wondered, why is that word plural? I asked some of my neighbors. We had the rabbi. We had a conversation about that one time. It's funny when you talk to Orthodox Jewish people and you really sat down and asked some real questions and asked the question. I remember one time I said, I asked one of my Jewish friends. He was an Orthodox guy. He was crazy. He was a comedian. He used to crack me up. And I said, "Hey, what did the original Israelites look like?" And he said, "You." I said, "What?" He said, "They look like you, cousin." And then he just smiled and laughed. And I just was like, "Wow, that was deep." But it's amazing. People have the truth. They'll tell you the truth. You just got to ask the questions. Elohim is Beneha Elohim equals son of Lord God. Got it. Oh my God, not the scholarly ants. Yes, the ants. You ever notice though? Ants work as a collective. They get things done. They always look like they're organized. I think they're the higher life form on this planet than we are. We're just we're the big Neanderthal humans that have water hoses. That's all. So okay, Spicy Guy's laughing at me. Obviously, I was being silly and said something. Chuckle. I've been fighting over 20 years. Ain't getting no easier. Hey, Marcy, aren't you? You're in the beef sector? Where did we? Yeah, we crossed paths. We crossed paths with Queen Supreme, I believe. Somewhere over there. Yes, I'm officially over needing to be right. No doubt about it. It doesn't matter. The argument, again, I'm all about a nice debate, man, but I'm like, where are we going? What are we going at the end of the argument? Are we going outside to do something? That's where I'm at. See, I keep low visibility and low numbers here, and that's for a reason. These are the conversations that we are not having. Now, of course, folks will, again, they'll want to debate me out of what I'm saying, but you got to understand, at the end of the day, you can debate me all you want. I still see it the way I see it, and I allow you to have your point of view. So no point in trying to change me. I'll let you know. I'll save you the time and energy. I've already chosen the path that I'm on. I'm already walking it. I know I'm not perfect. I know I made some mistakes. I probably used some adverbs out of context doing this presentation. I tried. I've been struggling with this brain fog from the COVID. I don't know, y'all. I'm doing the best I can. So you will find mistakes if you look at me closer. Bombay, I've also seen this regarding people's emotions in the sector ruling whether or not they say something is true or claim that they are stating an opinion. No doubt. It's not worth it. It's better to be righteous. Wow, I hear that. I find when questions are asked to verify or explain something a person is telling a group, the way a person responds to the question reveals a lot. See, you and I have that in common. I always tell people when I'm having a conversation with another human being, I'm more so looking at your body language than anything else. I'm looking at, again, when you answer the question, what were your eyes doing? Did you look up? Did you look down? Did you look off? These are things that I look for. That whole other language that humans use, they don't even know they're using. For example, when I ask content creators questions about their claims, especially during potentially emotional streams, some content creators allow their emotions to override the questions being asked. I feel you in that, and I understand. I think more so with you because you have a certain structure that you use when you question. And yes, sometimes people, they're going to respond, unkind. But then I guess too, maybe they're looking at the source of the question, or they're looking at your intention. But you're right. In some cases, depending on who's speaking. But see, then we have to be careful too, because sometimes a person could feel a little insecure. about their dialogue, and maybe we don't want to debunk them and put them on the hot seat. So we have to practice compassion. Even though I know it's like, man, that's not fair. Like, they're speaking and they should be able to, back it up and such and such. Yeah, but we got to understand, y'all, a lot of us don't have the insight, wisdom, and knowledge. So a lot of us are very awkward about the things that we do. And so sometimes maybe we shouldn't expose folks, but if it's a legitimate question coming from a good place, from a compassionate place, then by all means, ask the question. I think that in that case, the burden falls on the content creator to answer the question and understand. Me personally, I get dissected a lot. I don't really like it because I always feel like, what's the point in proving me wrong? When you can actually take the time to prove yourself right or drop your own fact. That's what I think sometimes, folks. But I tend to just laugh at it now, because I used to get upset too. Like, man, why are you picking on me? I don't see you in anybody else's chat. That used to be my attitude, but I don't do that no more. So for that reason, YM says, I don't ask certain content creators questions during their streams. It's not worth the emotional vomit and spews of anger to me. A effing man. I like that phrase. Ingredient for me is staying out of negative lives. No doubt about it. And by staying out of negative lives, now sometimes I'll show up. I'm not a big fan of the panels though. And the reason why is because y'all don't, and I'm bad. I'm terrible at this too. I don't know how to regulate. I don't regulate the panels right. Y'all come on the panel. I love this. I'm sitting on your panel, or an individual is sitting on your panel, and then all of a sudden you let somebody in the door. Don't even announce the person. It's a person that just wants to clown that individual who was gracious enough to come onto your panel, and you let them get blindsided, cussed out, disrespected, and you sit there and go, oh, I'm getting content out of this. So then, yes, that's a negative live. I won't be on your panel for that. How are we going to have a discussion? And then you go back and dig it up, the archives, and clip it and say, oh, look at them, look at this. This guy got took down a peg. I'm not here for that. If you want to be 40 and 50 years old and want to argue and fight over some dumbass stuff, that's cool. You go ahead and do that. I'm not doing it. But however, for entertainment purposes, I will sit in the audience of your live and I will listen. Now, also, if we're on the panel and we're having a discussion, you people, can you stop cutting each other off? Like, let the person complete their thought. We're not going anywhere. Damn it, you're going to be up here 3 hours. We can all get our points out. That was the whole point of this presentation here, was to point that out, to say, yo, we all can be heard. We all can be respected. At the end of the day, you do realize that maybe both of you are wrong, and that's fine. But can you do that and not make it personal? You're losing the argument, but all of a sudden now you want to call me a name. Now you want to talk about my mama or what have you. Like I said, y'all, strong arguments, not strong words, okay? So yeah, this year, try to tighten that up. Let's have some more civil discussion. This matter of fact, let me take it further. The panel is not a battleground for you to come up there and take your frustration out, especially when the host is not sanctioning it. So in other words, you want to come over here and talk to me. If you got a beef with somebody in my chat, don't launch that from this channel. Go to their channel and launch that, or go to yours and you can cuss that person out all you want. Now, I've watched several people in the last year have that happen and have misunderstandings. So now I'm cool with somebody in the audience, but you're not. So now you want to yell at that person. So that person's looking at me like, damn, you let them do this to me? This how we get down? So y'all, we're gonna be adults about it. This ain't for you to be all out of emotional control, because I keep asking y'all one simple question. That is, how in the hell are you that inflamed, pissed off, mad, and upset at somebody you never met, never seen, never will see, don't know, have no idea? How are you that how did they get inside of your soul that you got to disrupt an entire presentation to go at somebody's head? How? They said this to me. You don't understand. They talked about my mom. You don't understand. I understand. I understand that it's a choice. I understand that you need to stop going to that person's channel and following them around all over the damn place. Like, what did I say, y'all, in the beginning? Looking for reasons to be offended, looking for reasons to be pissed off, and mixing everybody else up in the middle of your nonsense. Now we have an all-out war in our hands. Now we got all these polarized sides and divisions. Y'all beef sector rights. Y'all know about this, right? Y'all know how it is. Well, I need support. So now I had a falling out with my friend. I'm going to go get 4 of my former enemies to side with me because they don't like that. Yo, do what you will with your channel. Do what you will with your time. I will not engage, and I will not be a part of that. Now, if you want to have a good discussion, we definitely can get down with that. And if it is a roast type panel, and I know it is, and I step on it, then guess what? I'm up there to get what I'm getting. So again, I'm not a prude. I want to have fun and want to make jokes. Hey, is we roasting this year, y'all? We doing music. We roasting back and forth. Can we do it, not have it get personal? I mean, not personal, but can we do it and make it all in fun? I don't think so. Y'all too fragile, man. Somebody do something, y'all gonna get pissed off. Anyway, moving right along. YM says, what I'm getting from what you're saying is that the truth or the state of objectivity can shift based on different factors. So why become attached to it and argue about it? Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just not worth the fight, you know? And the reason why I say it's not worth the fight is because sometimes, man, these truths and things, they lead to wars. And the next thing you know, people's office getting called, family members getting contacted. It just gets out of hand. Y'all can't be, man, for real. I'm gonna start calling y'all on y'all stuff. You can't be that fragile in your 40s. You can't be. This is some stuff we supposed to have worked out in 5th grade. The whole, you talked about my mama, so now it's on. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. We gotta do better than that. Yeah, this is me telling you what to do. Yes, I'm always humble saying, I'm not here to tell you what, I'm here to tell you, cut the monkey shine. Bottom line, time to move this thing along, y'all. If that's what you're saying, I can kind of see that, Bombay. Oh, you know, YM had to give me kind of, YM ain't gonna give me 100%. That's cool, I'll take that. Good talk, brother. I no doubt. Oh, okay. Josephine stopped by. I was waiting. Josephine, that link is pinned. You know, you and I, we talk quietly, so, you know, over here, we can be quiet. Josephine stopped in. Josephine had a good live yesterday. I really enjoyed that. I like how she runs the panel and regulates. She's like, nope. There's gonna be some intelligence over here. I appreciate that because I'm always up front and center for that, even if it's a rebroadcast. And oh my God, that's exactly what I said from day one. So y'all, I managed to run this for an hour and 22 minutes. And again, like I said, I pinned the link just in case you had anything on your mind at all, if you happen to be here. Now I'm rolling at about 7. Where's my 11? Y'all know I'm good with my 11. I need my Ocean 11, but it's all good though. I appreciate anybody, and I mean anybody, that has taken the time out to listen in and hear me speak about some things. At the halfway mark, I kind of divested a little bit, kind of got off. Hey, look, usually I'm more organized, but hey, it is what it is. Again, I look forward to hearing all of you in the future as well. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and slow it down a bit. Let's drop that music off. Thanks again to the people at StreamYard for adding in these features and fixing that glitch and allowing me, instead of making me, they were gaslighting me, telling me it's my fault and I need to upgrade my motherboard or whatever the hell they were saying. They were just, you know how it is. So anyway, again, I really appreciate, oh, hold on. Let me get that comment off the screen there. Josephine, thank you. Hope you got some greens going on. I thank all of you who took the time out again to come out and just to hang out for a while and listen to me just go on and on and on. Hopefully you got something out of it. I know when I speak, it doesn't sound as interactive because it's like, well, he's talking, whatever. But again, I'm open to any new ideas, and hopefully some of you will be on today with some thought-provoking content And also in the new year, y'all, let's get, again, I'm not going to tell you not to be negative because, again, that's also subjective. I'm going to tell you to do what you do, but I'm going to tell you, I think you can do more. And I personally believe that you have a lot more to say and a lot to share with the world. I personally know that you do, and I'm waiting to hear it. Now, if anybody else isn't telling you this, I'm telling you this. I want to hear the ideas. I've heard you beef. I heard you roast with the best of them, and you're damn good at it. But I want to see, let's get some of these emotions under control, y'all. And let's get some good conversation going. Because damn it, if we're gonna be here for an hour, let's definitely make it worth the while. And as usual, I leave you with words of peace and tranquility. Namaste.